It's time for NanoWad in the Doom community again. This is a month where we spend October just making things, encouraging each other, sharing updates. So I wanted to try to share some of the progress and science and reason behind what I'm doing this year. I'm doing something a bit different. I'm not going to do a full Doom game this year like I have in years past. This is going to be more of an engine prototype proof of concept that might eventually grow into a game, but I'm not sure when. The idea is just to implement a dungeon crawler in GZ Doom. Something like Eye of the Beholder or Lands of Lore or Etrian Odyssey more recently on the Nintendo, and I'm taking most of my inspiration from the Etrian Odyssey games as to how the mechanics work and so on. So if you're of a certain age, you'll know this very well. You can sidestep around, you can turn corners, you can move in a strict grid formation. You can use the mouse as well for turning. It'll just move you in the nearest direction according to where you're going, which I'm quite proud of, and it's quite a lot more comfortable than using the 90-degree turns. This is just done by testing. The player's totally frozen. It's got the totally frozen property on. And it's done by, instead of relying on player movement normally, you test first whether the middle of the next tile that the player wants to move to is actually in the map, which is something you can do in Z-script. And you then try to create a map spot object where the player will go, and then if they can make it there, you start the movement. The nice thing about this is you can keep a lot of Doom mechanics around, like switches. They just work like they normally do. You tag doors, they open. So you can see as I explore around here, there's a skull filling in the bottom right, and that's the danger meter. And once the danger meter fills, you will find yourself in an encounter. Here's one of them, and in the encounters, you have the traditional Doom movement. You can jump around, you can deal with the enemies as you see fit. Once you've got rid of all the enemies, you're back in the standard grid movement again. And I'm not going to have an encounter here. I'm going to go have one on the way back. And we've got a bit of a different one this time. So eventually there are going to be different weapons. I've just given myself the super shotgun for all encounters to basically skip them just now. But we'll see how it works. I really like how as long as you make sure that the grid spaces are free... There's another one. As long as you make sure that the player can move on the grid, you're free to decorate the exact same way you would during normal Doom. So you can make maps a lot more interesting than standard dungeon crawlers are. And frankly, this is what I wanted when Etrian Odyssey moved to the 3DS. I was expecting it to be a bit more elaborate, but you still get the same very samey dungeons, all the same walls. Okay, finally, I was just waiting for it to do that to demonstrate that it picks an arena at random. I've only got 2 of them just now. Alright, so let's leave that for now. How it works is you have a standard Doom map that, as I said, you've just got room for the player to move in this grid pattern. I'm using a background image here, which is something that I only discovered Ultimate Doom Builder could do a couple of days ago, and it helps just keep track of where I am and where the squares should be and what coordinates they have. Each square has what I call a square number, sensibly, which kind of encodes its coordinates into an integer. So 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 4 zeros, that's what I'm trying to say, is the bottom left, and then 1, 0, 1, 0, 0 is 1 up on the y-axis, 1, 0, 2, and on the x-axis, that's the last number, 8, 9, 10, 11. To be honest, I should have done it the other way around, so the x was first, but I accidentally did it this way around, and I don't want to change it now. As far as the RPG data tables behind the game goes, I've got quite a lot of PHP and ZScript and Google Sheets, funnily enough, going on. This is some of it. This is, as you can see, a replica of this map and the spaces you can move to. And what happens to fill the danger meter is that each square has a danger rating, and it's based on the color of the square, which was a nightmare to get out of the Google API, but I'll get to that later. The light greens here are no encounters. The danger meter doesn't fill. You can't have encounters in these squares. And then the darker green fills it very slowly. Yellow a bit more. Darker yellow a lot more. The big fields of green space where there are no encounters, there's going to be something a bit special in there, if I can get it right. The numbers in each square represent the encounters that it's possible to get into in that square, so that I can control which parties of monsters appear. If I look at monster parties here, I can define all these codes for the monster parties. Zombie Week is just 4 zombie men. Zombie Week 2 is another kind of arrangement like that, and then you start adding shotgun guys and doom imps and devils and so on. I could add another one while I'm here. Just call it scientists. I don't know what to call it. Scientist squad. And what's it called? Zombie Scientist Plasma, I think. Let's just put a few in. The reason for the gaps, by the way, is that there are 10 slots in each monster party, and the slot decides which place, which monster start in the arena maps the monster is going to start in. You'll be able to see that later. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you it now. Okay, so when an encounter is got into, the player's teleported to this map here, and they're started at one of the random battle starts, which is a subclass of just map spot that I've made up. These aren't imps, they are monster starts, so that I can just get one of these objects and tell the monsters to start there depending on the data. If I look at the script, we're going to unfreeze the player so that they've got normal movement. We're selecting a start at random, and then we read the monster party from our data. And if there is a monster in that slot, then we spawn the monster class in the slot depending on the TID of the monster start. So a party that says zombie man, zombie man, zombie man, nothing, 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 nothing will be a different party from nothing, 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 zombie man, zombie man. They might appear there, there, and there instead of there, there, and there. So there's slight differences. And again, the arena is random as well, so a monster party could appear here, a monster party could appear here. Alright, so having got our scientist squad, this is a possible monster party, and they're organized into what I call monster populations or monster party groups. So if you see, you've got type 1, monster population 1 it could be either an imp party or an imp troop, which is Doom Imp, Doom Imp, or there isn't actually an imp troop, but that's a mistake. I'm going to put an imp squad instead. For squares with monster population 2, these monster parties could appear. I've put party and squad in twice so that they have more chances of appearing than the hunters. Which I'll actually get rid of, because I don't think I want them to do that. I want there to be a decent chance of the hunters variety appearing as well. Imp Hunters and Imp Hunters 2 are just Doom Imps combined with demons. So type 3, maybe I want to do another one. Let's see. Do I want to introduce the possibility? I don't want to introduce an imp horde just yet. Let's do a devil trio. And let's add that as a possible monster party for squares unnumbered 3. Alright, let's rethink this. I want just the imp parties and imp squad and imp hunters and hunters 2 to be around most of you. I'm imagining this is eventually going to be the second floor of the game, and the first will just be an introduction. But it's very organic. It's just growing rather than actually being designed. And maybe there could be a devil trio. A chance of them there. And I've got 4 on these squares, but it's totally meaningless to have any monster population numbers on green squares because you can never get into an encounter there. So let's do something here and just put 4s in here just now so I can demonstrate what's happening. So monster population 4. Let's make that, first of all, let's align that. It won't make a difference, but I just like to be tidy. And let's call this scientists. So there's a certainty that we'll get the scientists in this slot. Okay. As you can see, I think most of the map's going to be coloured yellow for that danger level. Because it's a comfortable rate of getting into an encounter. But maybe in stretches here where I want to make it a bit harder, I can notch the danger level up and get the player into encounters more often. Alright, let me... first of all, I need to actually install the scientists into my project, which I haven't done yet. I was in the middle of it. I forgot about it when doing this video. What's it called? This PK3 Tools is something I started writing for something else. It's not really ready for anyone else to get their hands on it yet, but I found it really useful for my project. It's just a way of organizing custom content. So you can Python PK3 Tools, I think it's called list packages. It's been a while since I used this. Yeah, it crashes at the end, but it did list the packages. Zombie Scientist Plasma is the one that I want, so I'm going to Python P3 Tools, add package. I've already added the devil. Add a Zombie Scientist Plasma. All right. So that's gone into a zip that's stored on my server, tmouse somewhere, and it's downloaded the files that it needs for Zombie Scientists, and it's installed them into my PK3 directory so that I don't have to drag all the files around myself. Let's have a look. So if I look here just now, I won't have any zombie plasma scientists, but let's refresh. Did it do anything? Usually it flickers. Maybe I'm just not used to it. There it goes. And then, okay, yeah, great. The Zombie Scientist Plasma is now available. And what was it doing? The Zombie Scientist Plasma. Okay, so that's its class name, so I should be okay to go. Let's, how do I run this? PHP read data? Yep. This warning's here because the whole thing's on GitHub except the Google API, which is about 70 MB. Most of my time yesterday was spent trying to work out how to use it. There's readdata.php. What it does is we get a Google client. You can see my developer key. Great. Feel free to use it. And then you can just go to you can go to your spreadsheet. You can pull data out of it. If you can work out how, you can then dump the data into files. You see, this is how you get the formatting of a cell. If I just stuck with numbers, I could just with spreadsheet values get, and that's it. But to get formatting, you've got to get the whole spreadsheet and define a range, and then define the data paths that you want to get, which are background color and formatted value. And then you have to split all this into bytes and so on. And it's a complete nightmare. Never do this. So that reads the data into a couple of files. And you can see it agrees with what I have in the spreadsheet. There's the monster party definitions. There's a file called square data, which is just the monster population and the danger level of each square. Once ZScript gets its hands on it, I've only just started using ZScript, by the way, and it was used for some of the ramp stuff a bit later on, as I dared to dive into it. And it is very poorly documented, not in the sense of it's not got a reference guide, but just in the sense of what you can do with it. It's quite difficult to imagine, I want to do this thing, and this is how to use ZScript to apply it. But I'm using it just to store loads of arbitrary data, which you could do in ACS, but it's a lot more of a bother. You just set up some dictionaries for associative arrays, you read your files, you put the data into the array, you provide some functions for getting data out of those arrays, and you can then call that from ACS. So for example, choose monster party, we get a key, which is mp- the map number - the square number. So our population ID stored in the square is whatever's at that key. So we'll have population ID 4 if it's a square with monster population 4. We then get the monster party string, which is the long thing that corresponds to this. It's just scientists for that, and you can have a comma separated list. It chooses one at random, and then it sets the chosen party to whatever the index was, and it returns the chosen party ID, which is then stored as you move between the maps, and then the battle arena loads that party ID. Right, let's start this up again. And I put the 4s in here. And this place is actually very slow for getting into encounters, so I'm going to dive into this room as well. I love not esoteric but awkward languages where it's an achievement to do things that haven't really been expected. There we go, we've got a party of plasma zombie scientists, which they're an enemy I invented for it basically replaces the imp when you're using the Brutal Doom style imps, where the imps can jump around and they're a lot more agile. This is an earthbound enemy that fires a projectile. And there we go. That is about it for now. For where this is going, I'm not really sure. I have a vague picture of what it's going to include, but mostly I'm implementing things as they seem interesting to me. So we'll find out where it goes together. And for everyone else doing NaNoWriMo, I hope you enjoy yourselves, get to make something new, and I am looking forward to your updates as well. Wish me luck!